Hello, this is Bruno Backer. Today we are starting a new little series with the song Fly Me to the Moon. It's a great standard. You should all know it if you don't already. And I'll do, 2 or 3 videos about it, talking about, mostly improvisation. But today, first and foremost, we need to address the melody. And I will show you then a couple places where you can conveniently find the melody. So take a look at the lead sheet. I will put a PDF in the notes, so make sure you look for it if you don't already have one. And if you look at it, the very obvious thing, first thing is that we are in the key of C major, number 1. And number 2, you will notice that most of the notes are in the key of C major. Now that's pretty easy to spot because C major means no flats, no sharps in the key signature. So if you find any notes in the melody that have flats or sharps, it simply means that they are not in the key of C major. And as you can tell, there's 98% of those notes in the melody that have no accidentals. So that means that they will be part of a C major scale. So that's very helpful to know because if you map out where you would like to play your C major scale, that means that the melody is going to fall right in the middle of it. So let me explain. First of all, we'll look at it in a kind of a lower range first. So I'm looking at this shape, what I'm referring to as an A shape for my C chord. So my C major scale is going to be this. In this position, just a 1 octave, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And the melody of our song is going to be right there, in between those notes. It's going to go up a little bit, so if you find all the notes in that scale, in that position I should say, so we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and we're not going to go beyond that. And below that, so C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, and we're not going below that. In fact, if I remember well, I think the B note might be the lowest note in this melody. So that's a good start. We know where we want to play the C major scale, and we know then we're not going to have to go up and down the neck to fish for the notes. We are going to be able to stay right in that position. So that's very good. So let me play this melody with the backing track, and then we'll talk about it. So second half. I'll end it differently. Sometimes we hear that. Okay, so the reason why I said I'll end it differently is depending on the versions that you listen to, there is either a higher little tag, which is what I did the second time. But I'll talk about that in a minute. And in fact, the chart I will send your way will have both those endings, so you'll see exactly what I'm talking about if you take a look at the lead sheet. Okay, so now this melody can be written in a number of different ways. I've seen charts where essentially we're looking at quarter notes. It would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, or maybe not all the way down to the last note, but the first 3 notes could be 3/4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And you often will find charts that have that. But again, well, I say again because I know I've mentioned that before in previous videos, don't really pay too close attention to the rhythms as written in most lead sheets. Keep in mind that oftentimes a lead sheet is written for the sake of convenience, and it's written simply, meaning the rhythms are not going to be tricky. You'll find a lot of quarter notes, a lot of simple rhythms to read, even though everybody knows that that's not how you would deliver those songs. Right? So that's why I would urge you to listen to many versions to see how different people phrase them, and in particular, vocalists. Frank Sinatra in particular has a couple of very well-known versions of this song, so he's always a great reference when it comes to learning melodies. For melodies in general, I would go to either Frank Sinatra, then Ella Fitzgerald, and Sarah Vaughan. Those are the 3 top names, the references. If I'm looking for any standard, chances are one of them covered that song. And in fact, usually if they're well-known standards, you can almost bet that all 3 of them did their own version at one point or another. So listen to vocalists. You don't have to learn the lyrics. I mean, sometimes people will argue that you need to know the lyrics of the songs you're learning. I often sort of compromise. I kind of think like if I know the first phrase, or at least how the title of the song is played, that can be helpful. Like in this case, Fly Me to the Moon is actually the very first phrase. So you want to play the notes of Fly Me to the Moon the way you would sing them. So you could say, fly me, or fly me to the moon. Something like that. You just like find a way, but you're not going to say probably fly me to the moon. Something like that, right? It's just would not feel right if you sang it, and it's probably not going to feel right when you're going to play it that way, right? So keep those things in mind. Okay, so where are my notes? So I'm going to play this a little out of time. So the melody starts here with the high C note. So it goes scale-wise this way, and then reverses direction, and then down again. So all those notes are diatonic, and then we go up a fourth to the A. So all this is diatonic. Now here I have a G sharp. So G sharp is the first note that is not diatonic. So if I'm in this position, my G sharp, I can play it in 2 different places. I can play it down here on the 1st fret, which is where I went. I could have also have played it on the 4th string, in which case I would have to go up, move up out of a position. One way or another, we have to move up. Normally, if the melody is going to continue down or resolve down into the next diatonic note, we would choose the fourth finger. But if I do that, my next note is an F, and it's going to be quite a stretch to get to it, right? So it would make more sense, I think, in this case, to play the G sharp here, and then the next note, the F, played with this third finger, and then here sort of regroup, use the first finger for the E, and then now I'm back in my position. So I have a C sharp, which is not diatonic, but it's right in the middle of my position, so I'm not going to have to shift anything. And then jump up to that A, and then high C again, and then the B, which is also diatonic, to the F, and then A again, right? So pretty easy. Right? There were two notes that were not in the scale, the G sharp, which I chose to play on the first fret, and the C sharp, which was right in the middle of my position, so I played it with my third finger. So that's the first half. Second half starts exactly the same way. So up to the A. You can slur also some of those notes. Don't overdo it. I tend to overdo it sometimes. So don't do what I do at times, right? But every now and then it's kind of nice to hear a little slur like this. So far it's the same. And then, so the second half ends like this. And then we have our G sharp again, which now resolves up, so we still use the first finger out of position, but now it's really the way it normally is done, first finger out of position, because I'm resolving up into a diatonic note. So way down to that C, and then D, C. All right, so that's the second ending, and I mentioned what would be considered then the third ending, which often is played at the very, very end of the song, after you played the solos and you restate the melody. But like I said, sometimes people use what you'll find written as the third ending systematically as a second ending anyway. So it's your choice, you can go either way. So let me show you how it goes. So the second half, we still have playing out of time, right? I'm sort of rushing through it. So here, so we have the A here, but instead of going down, down to the G, we go we go up to this higher note, which is an E, and then D, C, right? So it kind of shifts up. It's kind of a climactic way to end the song. So you can choose to do that. It's I think I do either way. I'm not too stuck one way or another. So whatever feels right, just go for it. But don't be surprised if you hear different ways played by different people. Okay, so that's the first way I wanted to show you. The second way I would like to show you is going to be up an octave. And for that, the C major scale that I'm going to choose is going to be in this position. So you're going to think of it as the higher part of what we consider a G shape. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, like that, right? So the way I would play it then, this is going to be my high note, conveniently. So all the notes are going to fall nicely in position, except for this note. So here's my G sharp. Now I did the same thing that I did in my previous example. I went down with my first finger. Now I'm playing the F with the same third finger that I was using down an octave, and then now I'm regrouping. We need to go to E, and then like that. So B, I'm going to have to go get it slightly out of position and slide back into my original C major. So B, C, all right. Then second half, pretty much the same. And now the G sharp. Now, at the end, I went like this, back in position. However, I'm going to have to lift that first finger to get to that low C. So if you can anticipate all that, you can maybe go, since your first finger is on fret 4, you can go maybe like this, and then you use different fingers, or eventually there. So I'll go 1, 2, 1, 1, or 1, 3, 2, 2, and then slur back into this position, and then you end up with C. So let me do it again in that range. Now, instead of using the play along track, I'll use the metronome, because that would be the next step. Don't get too dependent on your play along tracks. Do it at first, kind of, you know, find your place with the melody, but then if you can just like maybe have the metronome like this, I'll slow it down right here. The metronome is going to be on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Also sing it. Play a little fill here. Phrase it. See what I meant with too many slurs? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so work on it. Get really comfortable with that melody, because, and this is true of just about any standard that you are about to learn. Unless you're very comfortable with the melody, you're not going to go very far when it comes to improvising over the given song. So I think all too often people kind of have an idea of how the melody goes, and they don't spend enough time with it. So spend time with it, learn it, listen to it by different people, find a way that you like, and then also get comfortable enough so you can actually deliver it in slightly different ways all the time. I mean, you kind of have the basic way. I mean, I pretty much laid the same notes in the same place, but the phrasing was a little different. Not to mention, every now and then we can add a little fill, a little effect, you know, like my too many slurs or things like that. But you know, you need to be comfortable with that so that you can actually somehow improvise your delivery. You know, you're still playing the melody, but you're making a point to not playing it the exact same way all the time, and also not too verbatim. So there's a right balance between what are the right notes and how are you interpreting the melody. And also, are you interpreting the melody a certain way because you don't really know what the real notes are? So just be honest there. Just make sure you're not cheating. All right, so that's it for today's video, and stay tuned for the next few where I will talk about improvisation. Bye.